right, everybody, buckle up, because today we are talking about something, well, a little unusual.
And no, it's not about the latest dance craze or anything like that.
Nope. We are diving deep, deep into the world of, get this, tongues.
More specifically, we're talking about a peculiar little phenomenon.
That you probably haven't given much thought to.
Unless, of course, it's staring back at you from your own mouth.
Exactly. And I'm talking about, drumroll please, scalloped tongue.
Or, as the more medically inclined might say, lingua indentata.
Sounds kind of fancy, huh?
A little bit, yeah.
But really, it just means your tongue has these, well, waves along the sides, kind of like a pie crust.
And, it's one of those things that might seem a bit strange at first glance.
But it's surprisingly common.
More importantly, though, it could be your body trying to tell you something about your health.
It's like a secret message from your mouth. And we got a request from one of you awesome listeners.
Asking us to delve into some research about it.
So delver we did. And what we discovered is that a scalloped tongue can be caused by a whole bunch of different things. Some are totally benign.
While others might require a little more attention.
So where do we even start with this? It just sounds so bizarre, a scalloped tongue.
Well, one of those common culprits might surprise you.
Okay, hit me.
Stress.
You're kidding, right. Stress can actually change the shape of my tongue.
It can, yeah.
Yeah.
And, it's not like your tongue morphs overnight. It's usually a gradual thing. But chronic stress, that constant state of fight or flight, it can lead to something called bruxism.
Brex what?
Bruxism. It's basically just a fancy way of saying teeth grinding.
Oh, teeth grinding. Yeah, okay.
And most people who do it don't even realize they're doing it because
Yeah.
it often happens at night, unconsciously.
I can see that.
Right. And all that pressure from clenching and grinding, it has to go somewhere, right? So your tongue often ends up getting pushed against your teeth. And over time, well, those indentations can form.
Wow. That's wild. So basically, my anxiety could be giving me a wavy tongue.
In a nutshell, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one way your body might be trying to tell you to chill out a bit.
This is blowing my mind right now. So, okay, stress is a factor, but it's not the only thing that can cause a scalloped tongue, right?
Definitely not. Remember how we talked about the research our listener sent? Well, it also highlighted the role of nutrition in all of this.
Right, right. I remember reading about that. Something about deficiencies, right?
Exactly. Specifically, deficiencies in certain nutrients like iron or those all-important B vitamins, they can actually cause your tongue to swell, believe it or not.
Really? And that swelling then leads to the scalloping because it's pushing against the teeth.
You got it. It's all connected. And, it makes sense when you think about it. I mean, our tongues need those nutrients to stay healthy, just like any other part of our body. So when we're not getting enough, well, things can start to go a little haywire.
I guess it's kind of like your tongue waving a little red flag saying, hey, pay attention, I need some help here.
Exactly. It's like a built-in alarm system.
That's pretty cool, actually. So let's say someone's noticing a scalloped tongue, and they're thinking, maybe my diet's a little off. Are there any other signs they should be looking out for?
That's a great question. And the answer is yes. The research we looked at mentions some additional symptoms that might pop up alongside a scalloped tongue, especially if it's related to those nutrient deficiencies we were talking about.
Like what?
Well, things like dizziness were on the list, and lightheadedness too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's definitely something to pay attention to. If you're experiencing those kinds of symptoms along with the scalloped tongue, it's worth having a chat with your doctor.
Always good advice. Now, we've covered stress, we've covered nutrition, but those aren't the only potential culprits when it comes to a scalloped tongue, are they?
Not at all. Our research also mentioned a few other possibilities, though we won't get into too much detail here.
But just to give our listeners an idea.
Absolutely. We're talking about things like sleep apnea, which is where your breathing repeatedly stops and starts throughout the night.
Didn't know that could be related to your tongue.
Yeah. And anxiety disorders, even some autoimmune conditions, were also mentioned as potential contributors to a scalloped tongue.
So it really could be a sign of something more serious.
It could be, but it's important not to jump to conclusions. The key takeaway here is that a scalloped tongue is often nothing to worry about.
Right. But it is something to be aware of. It's like a little clue that might point to something going on in your body.
Exactly.
So what's the final word for our listeners today?
I think it boils down to this. If you happen to stick out your tongue one day and notice those little waves along the sides.
Or maybe you catch a glimpse in the mirror after brushing your teeth.
Right, don't panic.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world.
But don't ignore it either, especially if you have other symptoms like the ones we talked about.
Exactly.
And if you're concerned at all,
Always better to be safe than sorry.
couldn't agree more.
So there you have it, folks. The curious case of the scalloped tongue. It's amazing what a little deep dive can reveal, right?
It really is. And it makes you wonder,
What?
could our tongues be a window into our overall well-being? Something to think about maybe the next time you're brushing your teeth.
I'm never looking at my tongue the same way again.